believe I'm recording now. Yes, okay. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. If anybody would like to do the land acknowledgement, I'm not that great at it. If anybody knows the proper terminology or pronunciation. I don't see anyone. Okay, I'll do it. Emily, stop giggling, please. We would like to acknowledge the history of the traditional territory on which this university stands. We would also like to respect the long-standing relationship of the three First Nations groups of this land and place in southwestern Ontario. The Attawandaron peoples once settled this region alongside the Algonquin and Haudenosaunee peoples and used this land as their traditional beaver hunting grounds. The other long-standing Indigenous groups of this geographical region are the Anishinaabe peoples, also referred to as the Three Fires Confederacy, including Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations. The Haudenosaunee peoples, also known as the Anishinaabe peoples or Six Nations, including Mohawk, Odahe, Cayuga, Odaninja, Seneca, and Tuscarora, and the Lenape peoples, also referred to the Delaware or Munsee. The three First Nations communities closest in proximity to this university are Chippewa of the Thames First Nations, part of the Anishinaabe, Odina Nation of the Thames, part of the Haudenosaunee, and Munsee Delaware Nation, part of the Lenape. Okay, I am just going to quickly take attendance. Okay, I'm just going to quickly put Clara. Okay. Counselor Petch.
Yeah, I'm under guest.
Are you? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Counselor Anka.
Here.
Tell me, making sure that I'm spelling all these correctly, please. Just like watch out. Is there? Yes. Okay. Counselor Newton.
Here.
Counselor Weber.
Here.
Counselor Gillett.
Here.
Counselor Elves.
Here.
Counselor Bubba.
Here. Does that work?
Yes. Counselor Varaguna. I can't say it.
Here.
How do you say it?
Oh, it's just Varagunan.
Okay. I'll try to remember.
Gunan. There you go.
I keep on trying to find you guys, but then you guys keep talking and it moves. Okay. And Counselor, oh my gosh. Hude?
Here, Hodai.
Hode? Okay.
Yeah.
Did I forget anyone? No. Okay.
Neither did I.
Thank you. Okay. So, once it saves, there you go. I would like to welcome you to the Advocacy Committee. This is our first committee. I'll explain a little bit about it. So, this is our standing committee off of council. So as you can tell, it's off of our portfolio. Most of our portfolio is promoted towards advocacy. It is called this, and it's a little bit different than the other standing committees just because instead of being the student life standing committee, we named it advocacy. I personally like the name of it better, but as you can probably tell with the other ones, it's communications committee and then it's student events committee, but this one's a little bit different in the fact that it's like we do have a whole name change. I personally like it because I can also differentiate it a little bit better. So for this first committee, we're going to try to do it a little bit differently. Obviously, you can already tell this is a lot more formal than our normal portfolio meetings. We are going to do this at first and talk about a couple things that are on the agenda today, and then we'll move for a informal discussion. I'll stop putting the recording on and we can do our normal portfolio meetings and you guys can give me your updates, because as of right now, it's probably going to be a lot of me and Emily talking. But the kind of the purpose of this committee is mostly to get to understand our bylaws and all their stuff. So I did go over your terms of reference with most of you. But as always, there's always updates to do. So I do have a couple of them on the agenda today. For instance, the AVP Student Support and the Outreach Commissioner. I have reached out to these positions already, and we're just going to go over them really briefly. And then perhaps maybe next meeting, we can actually have a full document and pass a motion to pass to council. So if you guys have any questions at all, we can leave it maybe until after the meeting's over and we can talk about it in our normal portfolio meetings. Just because there is no question period on here at the moment, but maybe I may add that into the agenda for next time. And I think that's all. I'm so happy all you guys could be here. I know this is really hard to schedule, but we do have all them scheduled for the beginning of first semester. So we won't have to worry about that again. As you can tell on the owl over here, we do have our next one October 1st, the third one October 22nd, and the fourth one November 12th. So please write this in your calendars. I know this meeting was held a little bit last minute, but I'm so happy that most of us could be here. And whoever couldn't be here got regrets. When it comes to this meeting, I don't think I'm going to do demerit points just because you guys have clearly showed me that you're interested in being here and you guys have my trust. It isn't until you guys lose that trust that I might have to start implementing those demerit points, if that makes sense. But as of right now, I can clearly tell that all you guys want to be here and you guys do send regrets if you cannot make it or you cannot make it for the full meeting. But until then, we'll worry about it later, but you don't have to worry about demerit points. If you don't know what demerit points are, because I know a lot of you guys are new to council, Emily will be going over it in training at our next meeting, September 27th. And I think that's all from me. Approval of agenda. I need a motioner and a seconder. Emily, can you motion?
I don't think I can.
That's fine.
I'm not ready, unfortunately.
Can you just watch me right now, though, Emily? So I'd have to do a motioner on here.
Yeah, just for that, maybe just do, like, you can be the motioner for that pretty much. So just write your first name. Yeah, so last name, actually your last name in lowercase. And then slash the last name of somebody else who'd like to second it right now.
I'll second it. Counselor Weber speaking. I don't know how formal we should be.
Does
this look right, Emily?
2 B's for Weber and make H capital.
No, 1B, please.
But it is 1B, yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry.
No, no worries.
That's why I typed in your email wrong and you don't have access to the L. Great to
That's
know.
probably it, honestly.
Okay.
Bingo. No worries.
There.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good there.
Approval of draft minutes. We don't have any because this is our first meeting. Makes sense. And I already started the recording of the meeting. We have that in there just in case, because a couple of our meetings and our exec meetings or other stuff, we forget to do it. So we do have it on the agenda just in case. This is also your time, if you notice that I'm not recording, to yell at me. Okay. Okay, for discussion. Emily, you can take over.
Perfect. Yeah. Start recording of meeting. That is just mostly for me. We do weekly exec meetings, and every single one I forget to record it. So we're not doing that great with that. So always make sure Brooke's recording it because it's really important for meeting minutes and stuff. What are meeting minutes? I'm going to get into that right now. So each committee has a secretary. In a perfect world, since we're a corporation, every single time members meet, you need to have it like logged in meeting minutes. And meeting minutes are pretty much just like the words of what was said. So you could pretty much read the meeting like a document. So it's really great if you never like can't attend a meeting or something like that. Meeting minutes weren't really done on council in the past, unfortunately, but we're a corporation and we actually do have to uphold that standard legally. We do have a secretary of council, Lisa. I'm not sure if all of you know her, but in a perfect world, she'd be doing meeting minutes for every single meeting of council, standing committees, general meetings, everything. We know that's not capable right now as she's a student and we're all students and she's not getting paid full time or anything like that. Can't expect her to be at every single standing committee meeting. So a way I'm getting around this is I'm having every single standing committee internally elect a secretary. So they're pretty much Lisa's delegate on this thing. So Lisa is currently writing up a document on how to do meeting minutes, like the perfect protocol. You just follow the structure really. And then after the meeting, you would have the 3 weeks between this meeting and next meeting to have the meeting minutes ready for next meeting. So do you see how we just foregoed passing the meeting minutes because there's not one yet? So right there, as an exhibit, that's where those meeting minutes from 3 weeks ago would be, and we have to pass them as council. They're probably not going to be too much big of a deal on the standing committee, but things like the Board of Trustees of Russia, we will go through the meeting minutes for 20 minutes and people will nitpick saying that like they didn't properly say that and it's not recorded properly. So it is a liability thing. Like that is your words recorded and it's not like word for word either. It's kind of a summation. So the meeting minutes person will write, President Petch asked a question about this, but not like word for word, but you just need to have the context there. So that's why it's really important to uphold the meeting minute. And it's your right to go through those from last meeting and make sure we have those recorded properly. So we are looking for a standing committee secretary for the standing committee. The vice chair is already chosen as the AVP. So this is a position that needs to be fulfilled. I'm looking to potentially have it so the meeting minutes are due 48 hours before the next one, and you just submit it to Lisa, and then she'll throw it on the agenda and everything for you. So it's pretty much all you'd have to do. You could do them live, like so as of right now, you'd be kind of writing what I'm saying. There's also recorded, so you do have the opportunity to watch back the recording and like do the meeting minutes there as well, kind of however you like to do it. But it's a little bit of a commitment, but you get to throw it on your resume, and like we can write a reference letter for it, so it's like committee secretary. So if anyone would like to volunteer for this, if several people do, we can do a little internal election, but if one person does, let me know.
Does anybody have any experience?
Mm-hmm. And then the protocol is if nobody wants to volunteer, the vice chair automatically takes on the role.
I'm fine taking on the role, but if anyone wants to, that's fine by me too.
Yeah. Yeah, so does anyone contest Rebecca doing secretary and vice chair of this committee? No? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so Rebecca, you're now the secretary of the committee. I was hoping to get you in contact with Lisa very soon, like just do a 15-minute training. I'm wanting to get meeting minutes done for this one. I know like this time block will be slightly less because you're kind of getting going after the meeting starts, but they would kind of be due 3 weeks from now before the next standing committee meeting. Perfect, yeah, so you'll just kind of go by the recording this time around. Great, perfect. So that's all from me. I'm not going to be crashing every standing committee you guys have. I was just kind of here to get the secretary going, get Brooke up and going. So really glad to be here as a guest and kind of see what you guys accomplish.
Thanks, Emily. And thanks, Rebecca. Okay, so the next item up for discussion is the standing committee membership and mandate. So as you may remember, we did pass this motion in our council meeting. So we're just going to look over that really quickly. Hopefully it linked properly. Okay. So yes, we did pass this motion on Sunday. Wow, it's so fast how the week's going by. Okay, so as you can tell, our committee's right here. So council has 7 of them in total. I sit on 3 of them. Yes, 3 of them. So yes, it is different. It is supposed to be more formal, but I'm gonna explain it in terms of Emily, and you can chip in here. These meetings are kind of used as when we pass motions at council, we want to make sure that we're still grabbing from outside sources in all of council to make these motions. So instead of maybe just the execs coming up with a motion, we're gathering information from you guys. So if you guys ever want to have a motion to get passed through council, this is it, right here. You just kind of message me, we can talk about it in the for discussion page, and then maybe you and I can work together to get a motion passed in the council meeting or the standing committee after that. So kind of what we're doing today with the AVP terms of reference and outreach commissioner terms of reference. We'll discuss it, and then we'll move towards a document and look over the terms of reference physically, and then make those changes, and then it'll go to council. Hands up if you got that. Ish. Okay. Cool. I know it's a little bit difficult in understanding it because if you have been on council previously before, it is a little bit different, but I think that this is going to work a little bit easier so we can be more transparent. We do want to make sure that we're grabbing everybody's mindsets and voices when it comes to making council-wide decisions that can impact the university. I'm just going to scroll down to our meeting. Okay, mandate. Okay, so kind of what I've been kind of reiterating during our portfolio meetings. I did mention this meeting committee a couple times before, but if you want to read through this, I'll read through it really briefly. So we are to handle any issues relating to student life brought forth either by a member of the student body or concerned parties who may be advocating on behalf of the students. So obviously you guys can also bring up a concern. So say that we have a concern with the LGBTQ community not being represented on our council. Luckily, we do have a Pride and Allyship commissioner, but say that position didn't exist. We could have brought a motion forward to create a position on our council to be able to facilitate that. We shall select one student issue each semester to research and make a recommendation to council on how best to remedy the issue. This year, what we're kind of doing is the subcommittee. I would say that there's a wellness and awareness subcommittee off this committee, if that makes sense. We are already working on that. It's 5 of us on the council already. We did also pass that inside on Sunday. If you guys didn't notice it, it said wellness and awareness subcommittee. That's us, and that's kind of how I'm dealing with that one student issue per semester. We do have our event coming up September 24th to deal with COVID-related stress and coping mechanisms. Reviewing and making recommendations to council on all matters that relate to the student life portfolio. So we're doing that today. We're looking over the AVP terms of reference and the outreach terms of reference. Obviously, that's what we're doing this meeting. If you guys think of anything about this portfolio, what you want to do in the future, please tell me. We can talk about it. But this is kind of how it's going to work from now on. I do really want to get your student voice on this. This is the time for you guys to shine. I want to get to know what you're thinking and how you guys want to structure this portfolio. I do not want to have it to do every single motion every single time. I do want you guys to step up. Membership. So as you can tell, we did a lot of changes to our portfolio lately. We added the Mature and Transfer Commissioner, International Commissioner, we added Accessibility Commissioner, and we changed the name to Pride and Allyship from Diversity and Pride. I think this is going to be a great year. I can already tell that a lot of you guys are really committed, and I'm excited to get the interviews done for Pride and Allyship and Accessibility. From my understanding, I do have people applying. So none of our positions on our portfolio are going to be unfulfilled, which is also really great to see as well. And I think that's it. So if you have any, I'm going to take time for questions, Emily. I think I need to.
Yeah, I'll just kind of jump in really quickly. These standing committees are something that we're supposed to be running on our council, and it was a bit of a surprise to anyone who's been on council before and they weren't existent. It just is like a 4-in-1 fixes all of our major problems. So this is kind of like my beta baby project, seeing if this fixes a lot of our problems. They double as portfolio meetings. So now instead of just relying on your portfolio holder, Brooke, say she wasn't that great at communication, relying on her to communicate with you, she is forced to communicate with you now. Like these standing committees are mandated to run in certain periods of the month. So it doubles as a portfolio meeting. You now have a really good relationship inside your portfolio to work with each other. It adds more legitimacy to motions hitting council floor. So it's not just an executive writing a motion at their table and a hitting council floor, because I know you guys all saw that the reps usually vote yes. And I wish there was a little bit more contesting, right? But like, it's a bad assumption right now that if I write a motion, it's going to pass at council. So in order to combat that and be on the understanding that, yeah, the reps are just going to trust me, right? They just kind of look at us and they trust us as the motioner that we aren't doing anything malicious. This just adds a lot more validity behind motions hitting council floor. They literally have to go through a two-step process. So if I motion something regarding pride, it goes to your standing committee, and you see how this agenda looks just like the regular general meeting you saw on Sunday. So under the for approval, it will be as a motion. So you guys vote on it. I have all of you as voting members on the standing committee, so you're not voting members of general council, but you are here. And it gets voted through this standing committee, and then it hits council floor. And so that just adds so much more legitimacy behind motions hitting council floor, and then also just doubles up as you now being able to create motions. Every single one of you has motion creating power. I know on Sunday you just saw me put through 5 giant like bylaws. Like all motions aren't going to be like that. Like you can do motions saying the executives of council will pay more attention to pride and advocate for it. It doesn't have to actually be a 2-step process. It could just be that we are required to put attention to that now. So we're just really trying to empower you guys. You have power to put through motions, and we're wanting a lot more motions to be going through. So I'm just kind of viewing this as like a 4-step, really fix everything. But with the understanding this is a beta project, this has never happened before. So we're all going to be very lenient with getting this going. But yeah, I'll just bring it back to Brooke. Just wanted to step in on that.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying, Emily. I think that you summarized really well. I just want to make sure you guys understand the power that you guys actually have, like hold on council. Even though you guys aren't voting members, like I think that you guys do have a lot of legitimacy on council, and I do believe a lot of you guys are go-getters, and that's something I love about having you guys on council is like you're not just involving council. Like I know a lot of you guys have outside like positions outside of council that you really like and strive for. Okay, so our next thing is bylaw 1. This is the very big motion that we passed, the very first motion that we passed on council on Sunday. Wait, actually, I'm going to take time for questions. Is there any questions at all of stuff that we've gone through already?
I have one question.
Yeah.
So, say we wanted to bring forth a motion, right?
Yeah.
So I would ideally contact you, and then we'd write up a motion together.
Yeah, so what we'll probably end up doing, how I structure it, Emily, you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Can I step in? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm kind of the expert behind the scenes right now. Brooke's like a fantastic advocate. Yeah, so we are getting a motion submission tool going too. So it's not launched yet. It's going to be on the General Assembly Facebook OWL page as like one of the tabs on the side, motion submission tool. So we are going to throw a whole bunch of examples in there on how to create a motion, different types of motion you can create. So you're going to be like having all this information. It does have to go through governance on the back end. So you can't give it to Brooke and she can throw it herself. I had a meeting with Brooke yesterday. I pretty much told her she can touch everything on that agenda, your agenda for advocacy, except the for approval. So she's not allowed to touch that for approval section. That's me and my governance officer. So you pretty much submit a motion. And then the motion, like obviously you'll see like examples and all that kind of stuff. And in the standing committee, you guys can create the motion together, shoot it off to the motion submission tool, and then it'll pop back up on your agenda pretty much. It's kind of how we're wanting it to work out. And so when you're submitting the motion, you'll say which one you hope it'll go to, like select advocacy. But if it's like a finance one, the governance officer can override it and shoot it off to the right standing committee. But that's kind of the big vision of how I see it rolling out.
Okay.
So that kind of helps you a little bit.
But if it makes it easier on you, either you and I can make a meeting together, or we can talk about it in the for discussion, like here. I can touch the first discussion all I want. as you can tell I did. So if you want to bring up like a potential motion and you want all of us to talk about it together and get other people's ideas, I personally think I want to make use of the board discussion like I am today. But if not, we can also have a meeting one-on-one. That's totally fine too. It's just how you want to go about it. If we could even do both, like I'm pretty
Okay.
open. We're all guinea pigs to this. So yeah, whatever you want to do, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Yeah. Is there any other questions at all? No? Okay. We'll move on to bylaw 1. So, Emily, how many? 25 pages. 25 pages.
Yeah, it took me about 4 weeks.
This is something
I don't
that,
know if you want to go through everything. Do you want me to go through anything super relevant?
I think
Are
I know,
you okay?
I think I know what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So I just want to clarify a couple things, just because I know we have half and half on our portfolio. We have half people who were on council last year and half people who aren't. So yes, this kind of gives you guys a scene of what Emily and the governance portfolio have been doing all summer. So this was their baby. This is what they've been doing all summer. I do guys want to give you guys an insider perspective of what's happening in council, and what the execs are doing. We're trying to be a little bit more transparent this year. So you are all, except for Emily and I, resource members. So on our council meetings that happen, the general council meetings, you're all resource members. So you attend the meetings, but you cannot vote. I think you guys probably already picked up on this. Typically, we usually have these standing committees and then we have general council, but we had to have an emergency council meeting on my birthday because we had to pass all these motions. As you can tell, they're so important right now of what we're doing and how council's been functioning. So I wanted to clarify that. There's also, I'm going to scroll, there's lots of fun stuff in here. I'm just looking for the subcommittee stuff. If you have a page number, Emily, or anything.
I'm not sure if subcommittees are fully reflected here because there's a separate subcommittee terms of reference, right? So it's probably just reflected as like a please see this.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be any more information on this one because there's like your bylaw 1 is your broad thing. So pretty much like it'll refer you to other little things pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, this kind of explains the level of kind of delegation too. So like everybody's positions are listed under here. I'm trying to move forward and getting actual contracts, like a 1-page contract for each of you because you are hired positions. And I think you guys deserve like an actual like 1-page write-up just to you explaining your position.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be thrown in with the ordinary member terms of reference because it's like voting members or councilors. You guys are hired as commissioners doing jobs for council. It's kind of a completely different role. But it's very broadly outlined here right now as I'm tweaking it over the year.
Yeah. Something else I wanted to mention is I don't think I'm going to do proxies for these meetings. Just because if I get too many of you guys saying that you guys can't come, we'll just reschedule the meeting. But proxies kind of work in the sense of, say that I couldn't come to the meeting because I had class, I'd get all of you are voting members on this council. So say that Anissa couldn't come, she gets Grace to be your proxy, and then Grace votes for both Anissa and Grace. Yes, you're nodding. Okay, great. That's kind of how proxies work. Emily's like, yes, that's how proxies work. I think that's all I wanted to go for that one. That's pretty quick. Okay, so terms of reference. This is what I've been talking about with Rebecca a lot of the times. I also had a meeting with Jenna about this. Here it is right here. So this is our terms of reference. I did go over this with you friends at the very beginning of your term. So this is what I kind of want to look over. Yes, I do. I think you guys are in the way. Yes, I have ABP student support up first. So there's a couple issues with this, and I want to, if you guys see any like things, I want to have this for discussion. I want you guys talking about it. It might even just be me and Rebecca, but shall organize, run, and promote wellness events and activities for students. That's the first thing that's underneath Rebecca's terms of reference. I don't think that we should say wellness and activity. Like, obviously she's doing wellness related activities, but that is not the only thing that she is doing. This year she's doing a little bit more of it, but I think that we should take that out of the terms of reference completely and reword it, just because I don't want her dipping in too much into wellness commissioner as well, and it's just too broad and does not really understand what she's actually doing on council. If you guys have any comments on that. Rebecca? No? Okay.
We're wanting to also move the AVP to have office hours. I know all of you who were on council before, you remember doing a 1 hour office hour a week. We're moving away from general members doing office hours, especially during a COVID year. Like, office hours weren't great last year. Anyone who did them could know this, and anyone who saw us sitting at the bodega and not knowing who we were can also contest to this. Office hours didn't work out. We're wanting to have the executives pretty much just do them over Zoom this year. So like, I'm just sitting doing my homework, if someone pops in, they pop in. And also getting the AVP to do, I'm looking at 3 to 4 right now for AVPs, just for your radar, Rebecca. Still in the thought process. It's getting past the September 27th meeting. So kind of like on your radar there.
Yeah. Rebecca and I did mention that, but it's also something we do. The reason why we need to change this terms of reference is because of little things, because of COVID as well. We contest also that AVPs have done office hours in the past. So I think I mentioned to Rebecca before that the AVP student treasurer did do an office hour and she sold merch. We're trying to find something that Rebecca can do during her office hour that would make it seem like she's actually doing council work instead of just doing homework while she's on Zoom. Obviously, she does have other things to do. Like, for instance, she's working on a wellness pamphlet for our event September 24th, but that she's not always gonna have something to do, especially if she's doing these office hours every week for sometimes 3 to 4 hours. So we're hoping maybe inside the terms of reference we can add something like that in, but if not, we'll probably keep it more general. But once again, a lot of the stuff is still up for discussion. We're still thinking and brainstorming. Another thing I have an issue with: shall develop initiatives per semester that promote mental health resources and support on campus with assistance from the Awareness Commissioner and Wellness Commissioner. Yes, kind of, but once again, the AVP is supposed to work with everybody on council, like all of you guys, like every single one of you guys. Obviously, I do understand that, like, mental health resources, we don't have a commissioner set for that, like, exact promotion and advocacy, but it does kind of go underneath the awareness commissioner as well. So probably what I see myself doing with this one is just being like, shall coordinate with every commissioner inside of the portfolio to help with their initiatives. Like, not, or just being like an open point of contact, or to consult, if that makes sense. That's how I kind of see that one working out. I just, right now, a lot of the stuff just doesn't really make sense in my head. I see a lot of nods, so I feel like you're like, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Nivi's like, hello, I'd like help with my, like, volunteer stuff. Like, so as you can, I think you guys can understand where I'm kind of going with this. Just a lot of this stuff needs to get updated. But probably the biggest two that are hitting our, like, portfolio are definitely AVP and outreach. This makes sense, and we need to take out this because sexual violence is no longer, I talked to Courtney about this in the Student Life Center. I do believe I mentioned it in our portfolio meetings. Sexual Violence Awareness Week used to be a really big thing on our campus. It's unfortunate it's not anymore, but there is no, like, committee or anything like that. Even the Student Life Center doesn't really, they do like events, but there's no set week anymore. it used to be come down from Western, and then like the affiliates attached on, and we all did it together. But that's fallen off the last 3 years, and it has not been happening. So I do want to take that out of the terms of reference. What Anissa and I are actually planning on doing this year is there's an organization called One Love that does workshops on gender-based violence. So we're kind of planning on teaming up with them and still doing sexual violence awareness initiatives. It just won't be like a committee or like something that happens. We might even move this into Anissa's. I do believe it already is in Anissa's terms of reference, so I don't really like the doubling up of that. But that's just kind of something I want to put on your radar. Anissa and I met a couple weeks ago, and we did talk about this already. It just kind of makes sense to me to only have and being able to delegate properly. Once again, eating disorder awareness initiatives, that's also underneath Anissa. Mental health kind of makes sense because we don't have a commissioner. I do want to add that in, as well as the co-chair of the Pride Committee. But both of these things are underneath Anissa. There's a lot of things that Rebecca can be doing. I might even add in here that she shall coordinate the posters inside the bathrooms. So I did mention this inside our portfolio meeting that we do own the poster boards inside the bathrooms. That might just be every AVP from now on is working on getting resources to facilitate those in the bathrooms. I'm seeing a lot of nods. Can I just get a word of being like, yes, that sounds nice?
Yes.
Love that for you.
Thanks.
Love it.
I need
Looks like I'm lonely.
Actually, Brooke, I was talking to someone the other day about taking advantage of those boards. So
Perfect. Yes.
yeah.
Apparently we own them. I know about
Own
it.
them.
That's
Yes. So Counselor Weber and Counselor Newton.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is gonna be informal. Sorry, Emily. Add each other on Facebook and DM each other, please.
that's fine. No, you can say stuff like that. They're fine. Disclaimer: we're going informal. Add each other on Facebook. That is all.
DM each other, coordinate. Tell me what you guys are up to. If you guys want to put a poster, like literally facilitating resources just for mature and transfer students, go ahead.
That's
We'll
perfect.
switch out the posters. Not only that, but like once that poster is done, it's not going to be garbage. Please like take care of it properly. We might even find a binder that we can put them in, and then like every year around like October we put that like poster in. You know what I'm saying? That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That'd be so nice.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, that was informal. I made you all giggle again.
Brooke, so who's the other counselor?
So it's the AVP student support, Rebecca Newton.
Got it. Thank you.
If you guys have any questions of what I'm doing, I'm not messaging you. Also, Rebecca literally knows everything I'm doing. We do meet weekly. So I do kind of want you guys going to her sometimes too. Just being able to delegate my time as well. It's something really small, like I can't find the OWL page. I'm pretty sure Rebecca could probably figure it out too. Like, just because this is getting to be a large portfolio. So if I'm not answering, I could also be at work. I am working a lot this week too. Just message Rebecca. She's always there as well, and she knows what I'm doing. Okay, we're almost done. Shall serve as an aid to portfolio members in execution and implementation of events. That makes sense. And that also covers all of you guys. I don't want to have it as just like a specific amount of people. I want her being able to help all of you if you guys need it. Shall act as interim vice president student life. So if I step down, Rebecca steps up. We did talk about that in council on Sunday. I just wanted to clarify that. As well, Emily, do you want to speak on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so this was something that I was looking at the bylaw, and it was not clear on if Brooke just dropped right now. Like if she called me and said she doesn't want to be in the role anymore, what happens? Like it wasn't clear on who keeps the role. I think that's a big issue too in itself. So I have it so the AVP is automatically pushed up, pretty much against your will, you are pushed up. And then you have the option where you can request to do an internal election at the next council meeting. So say it happened right now, Rebecca is automatically Vice President Student Life by default. I'd probably also eventually have it because we're wanting to prioritize kind of the bigger positions are being filled, right? So probably then another Student Life Commissioner would get bumped up to the AVP. then Rebecca could say that she would like to do an internal election at the next council meeting. And so then she could pretty much internally get elected for vice president student life, not interim, like for the actual position until the term end on April 30th, 2021. So I think that's more legitimate too, because before it was so that it opens up officially to all members of the Brescia community. I think it makes more sense for the AVP to kind of be able to do an internal election at the next council meeting first. And like, obviously, if they choose not to, they can request to not have the internal election, then it opens up officially like normal. Or if they lose the internal election and council members like, no, we don't have faith in this person, could always happen, right? Just kind of that situation there. I think it's a little bit more legitimate way of kind of bumping people up. But if anyone is very against that and like wants to kind of contest and want to change the bylaw one back, I can always talk about that as well with you guys in the future.
I'm not planning on going anywhere, don't worry. But it kind of also makes sense to me as well, because I am telling Rebecca a lot of stuff in our weekly meetings. She knows exactly what I'm up to. A lot of the time she's like I like to think of her as my bounce board. Like, I need to do this. Like, and she's like, I got it. Like, I'll write it down. So it's really nice having the AVP there and being able to use her in that manner. And I think that she definitely probably has, like, the AV probably has the most information of what I'm doing and is actually most of the time helping out with me for a lot of things. Still eligible for a financial, I can't say that word, stipend. Cool. At the end of the academic year, upon approval of the end-year report. So this just means that she is up for an honorarium, so it is a paid position. We're not going to hide that. I'm sorry, Emily.
Oh, no, it's not a hide thing. So, yeah, so we actually are going to be passing a new honorarium system in the next meeting, too. Like, everything is completely transparent. We're not hiding anything. The honorarium committee in the past, some of you probably don't know about it at all. It was weird. Like, it was like a 35-year-old system where 4 random council members, like genuinely 4 random council members, are chosen to sit on an honorarium committee with the president. So it's pretty much the president, 4 random council members, deciding on how much people are getting paid on a sliding scale. So it could be 4 random council members who've never worked with Brooke ever before, working with the president to decide how much he gets on a sliding scale of like varying $10,000. It was a very weird system. The city of London got rid of it 45 years ago and how they paid their people. But these positions are not paid hourly. 100% they're not paid hourly. It would be $30,000 by the amount of hours we're putting in. It's pretty much volunteer with honorarium. So we are bumping up the honorariums just to kind of reflect the workload a little bit. A lot of positions are going up. Most of the commissioners are volunteer, like just kind of strictly. It just kind of starts going honorarium on a little bit of an upscale when you hit like speaker, secretary, exec assistant, the associates, those kind of positions. But we're going to showcase the entire honorarium system before it gets passed through council when we pass the budget.
Yeah, so that's the last thing for her. I did mention all the changes. I'll probably end up having a draft motion and then submitting it to the box, and then it'll be hopefully by our next committee meeting, it'll be in the for action. Okay, next item up for discussion is the outreach commissioner. I've been kind of throwing stuff at Jenna, just like little things I keep finding. We're obviously still in the works for this because this position does not make any sense with COVID. That's how I'm gonna put it for this year. I might be scrolling past it.
I think outreach would be really great for like just genuine like external connections.
Yes.
So like contacting like Western associates and stuff like that, and like little clubs and stuff. That's kind of where we're wanting to go.
Yeah. Tell me if you guys see it. I'm just not seeing it.
Outreach, watch it not be on this copy.
Emily.
Can you search function it?
Yeah.
On Sunday. Yeah, so that might have been a mistake on my part. A lot of policies and bylaws got lost the past couple years, just full transparency as well.
I do have the outreach.
So
do Command F.
Yeah. Outreach should be on here. I definitely got mature and transfer accessibility, but outreach, we do have the full position mandate. At this point, Brooke just needs to copy and paste it because it was passed through council previously, so it should be reflected on this bylaw.
Unfortunately,
So we'll just copy.
I will find it. I might have to stop screen sharing and go into Jen and I's DMs.
And Jenna's like, I'm so hurt.
No,
Sorry, Jenna.
That's all good. You guys have a lot going on.
With some external connections, like 100%. We're having issues with external connections to different Western clubs, and they have a gender equality network. So a lot of those great like associates, I think, yeah, just kind of connections and building connections and connecting them to different people is kind of where I wanted to see your position go.
Yeah. So like we're kind of basing it. What I'm hearing from Emily is like off Kings.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
We're making a lot of stuff off Kings. Our council wasn't functioning well. There's councils that were functioning well. So a lot of the bylaws and policies I'm changing are direct grab from Western. Like our bylaw one we just passed, I ripped it off Western and pretty much just changed the 15% that was only relevant to us and just kind of added it. Well, I changed something that's not broken. So we are ripping off a lot of things on councils that are better functioning.
Are we allowed to speak up on anything? Yeah, I like that. Actually, I like that idea because that brings us more in line with what the rest of Western and Kings, what they're doing. And, I always go by the motto, like, work smarter, not harder. So if they already have a good system set up, let's do it,
And they have like a 35-person legal team upholding their bylaws, like Western especially. Their $37 million operation. We think we've hit at our very max. So they have an entire legal team doing it. So as much as I'm literally rewriting everything by myself in the middle of the night, pretty much, like bylaw one was definitely just me. We did not have actual legal counsel one-on-one with me. It was using their bylaws and their policies that they had a lawyer do. So I was able to kind of switch in our name and our logo and stuff and the only relevant stuff to us. So it wasn't that much of a risk when just me doing it. Also consulting, kind of using their legal team without us paying for it. So Western somehow, despite us being separate corporations, they're not liable for us at all. They've let me use their human resource team and their legal team, just kind of some one-on-one meetings because they do get paid salary. So we've been using them a little bit. So that's why at the council Sunday, I did have to say no to us actually having legal counsel one-on-one. But I can assure you that we're doing a lot of legal counsel kind of unofficially without paying $12,000 for a lawyer to gut everything and rewrite it. Fair.
So I clicked on the terms of reference that I sent Jenna a couple months ago, and it's error because we have a new website. So we're gonna have to come back to this in our next meeting.
I don't get Jenna.
That's okay.
Jenna's no longer a part of our council. You have to leave.
We love
I'm just done.
Okay.
No more.
like I'm
Do not. You guys can see my Facebook. That's not. Okay. Ignore it. Okay. So there's no items up for action. As I said, you have to use the motion, as Emily said, you have to use the motion submission tool. Hopefully we'll have Rebecca's terms of reference in there for next meeting. Meeting adjournment, friends.
Yeah.
Nivi, I know you have to get going, right? Yeah. Okay, so Nivi's gonna leave us. We're just gonna have a regular portfolio meeting now. I want to talk to you guys informally.
Yeah. Okay, so stop recording. I'll head out as well because you're just kind of going